Elden Ring is a game which, if it weren't for the performance issues people have been experiencing, including myself, I would more than likely say that it is stupidly close to being perfection. This will more than likely be what ends up getting the Game of the Year award this year, and for once we might finally get a game worthy of that title actually getting it. If you love Souls-like games, then I would say don't even watch this video, just go buy the game. However, the performance issues across all platforms make it so that I unfortunately can't recommend anyone buys the game until From Software fixes them. Besides that, this is Dark Souls made open world and then turned up to 100. Just like with my Dying Light 2 review, I was struggling to put down this game to make the review you are watching right now. It may be thanks to the Stockholm Syndrome I've developed over my time with the game, but as any From Software fan knows, that is simply inevitable with any Souls-like. The combat in this game is obviously the most important part, and it's safe to say, no matter how you enjoy playing video games, there will be a playstyle available in Elden Ring for you. To cut it short, if you've ever played Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring has the same combat as that, but slightly better, with some unique twists. Unlike the many other From Software games, magic does actually have a major focus here, and it isn't exclusively for what the community would claim to be, aka bad players, or those who want an easy mode. No matter what build you make, magic will eventually slip into it. With most bosses and mini-bosses in the game dropping magic abilities, it essentially forces you into adopting some kind of magic into your build, which I want to make abundantly clear is nothing but a good thing. If you are still finding the game too difficult, then all you need to do is go ahead and beat Renala so you can respec your character to produce a magic build. If you have a full-blown magic character, it is still very much an easy mode in this game, but it's not the sole purpose of it like it was in other From Software titles. On the contrary, you can do what you're probably more inclined to do and simply go out into the open world to explore and level up. It's going to take months to see how far players can go with this game's progression systems, purely due to the sheer amount of variety available here. Ashes of War alone create a vast amount of customization in your builds I honestly haven't experienced in many other games. From Software once again delivers a level of variety which is unmatched. Even if we only discuss weapons alone and ignore things like incantations, Ashes of War and so on, the weapon variety in it of itself gives the game almost unparalleled diversity in terms of what kind of builds you can create. The level of initial customization in terms of builds is definitely lacking, which should be expected. After all, you are in the early stages of the game. As you do slowly progress through Elden Ring, it only ramps up more and more. When it comes to the character creation in the menus, it is something that, although a definite downgrade from Demon Souls, it offers, as per usual with this game, the best of the best in terms of customization choices. Everything in terms of combat in this game feels great and a definitive step up from previous Souls-likes, which From Software themselves have created. The enemy types in this game are truly fantastic, and every enemy you face in this game not only feels unique but also has, at the very least, been somewhat challenging, minus the enemies who are so clearly designed just to be punching bags as you progress through the game. Enemies in this game never fail to offer some form of a challenge, albeit sometimes most of the challenge is created through frame timing stuttering. I'm looking at you, Tree Sentinel, but we'll get into that later. Bosses in this game can range from fantastic to fucking bullshit that are terribly designed. There are no in-between bosses. You either get ones where the developers have clearly said screw it, we can't be asked to make a legitimately hard boss, so we'll just launch an impossible amount of attacks at the player in one go. Or you get a boss where it's so fair and yet difficult at the same time, you just have to sit back and admire their design every time they put you on your ass and kill you. I would have definitely preferred to see some more bosses have better design. A lot of the ones you'll find in the open world are fantastic and are often better than the main storyline bosses in terms of their design. A significant amount of the bosses in the game are poorly designed from what I played, with Margaret, the first boss, seemingly having missing animations when I fought him, to boss fights like the dog who, if he decides to do one of his magic attacks where he launches 3 projectiles towards you at once and then also at the exact same time decide to charge you, it makes it incredibly frustrating, and I already know I am going to get a shit ton of Souls fanboys in the comments just telling me to get good, and the usual degenerate comments. But this is a common thing in the game, where in all honesty, compared to other From Software titles, it just feels with the main bosses in particular, they've just gotten lazy. Instead of offering fair fights that properly challenge you, they tend to throw tons of attacks at once, making it hard but in a negative way. If the game gives me a challenge whilst being fair, then I love it. Godric is a perfect example of this, and so is Radahn. They are difficult but they are fair at the same time. That is what makes them so fun and what makes me enjoy those boss fights, even though I'm getting my ass handed to me regularly. I just wish the devs had the same philosophy when making some of the other bosses, who don't feel hard, they merely feel egregious in design. On the polar opposite of the spectrum, you have boss fights like Renala that sits in a unique position where I question why the hell it is even a boss fight, due to it being frankly stupidly easy. The world design for Elden Ring is a key aspect of the game which is undeniably immense. This map is giant and littered with hundreds if not thousands of secrets that all specifically feel as if they were handcrafted. Nothing in this game feels as if it were computer generated. The landscape does not flow between biomes and it is genuinely a good thing. You'll consistently ride around the world and discover things in a way no other AAA developer has been able to achieve, and this is because they all baby the player, with supposedly hidden areas in other titles like Assassin's Creed being so blatantly visible to the point that it doesn't in the slightest feel as if you've accomplished anything when you've discovered a new quote-unquote hidden area in a modern game. All those hidden areas merely feel like yet another pointless chore developers shove into their games to drag out the length of them. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the perfect culprit of devs dragging out the game's length with annoying side objectives. Elden Ring on the other hand makes it so that the landscape doesn't guide you to these hidden areas. In fact, it hides them. Something I shouldn't be praising the game for, but have to because practically no other studio does this. They all use landscape as a means to guide the player to hidden areas, and it fucking sucks. The only reason they do it is because for some reason AAA studios like Ubisoft and EA are terrified of making difficult games. They all share this idiotic belief that you'll lose the mass market if a game is too difficult, when in reality that simply isn't true, and the success of Elden Ring has certainly proven that. Numerous enemies around the map are, especially in the early game, making you often say fuck that, I'ma just run away. With giant bears hidden behind trees in the early game's forest to entire hidden parts of the map, leading to underground worlds and cities. Giant titans found almost everywhere whose look alone creates a sense of dread. This game has one of the best open worlds I have ever played, outside of the opening area, which in all honesty is pretty bland. The dungeons you can find around the map share similarities to past From Software properties like Dark Souls whilst remaining unique to Elden Ring. With the vast majority of dungeons being so large, it's hard to call them dungeons. It's easy to find dungeons in the form of entire sections of the map, and in the form of mines that you will definitely want to visit regularly as you progress through the game. No matter what, dungeons throughout Elden Ring are challenging, with the only separating factor predominantly being the layout. Early on, dungeons are far more alike to Dark Souls dungeons, but as you progress through the game, they slowly open up to sewer areas underneath castles, entire castles themselves, and so much more. A hell of a lot of my regular viewers are probably super confused over how much I'm praising this game, because of how negatively I was initially talking about it, and this is due to the opening era being riddled with not only performance issues, but just poor development designs in all honesty. Elden Ring has easily got what I'd say is one of the worst openings in a video game I've played. It's not in the sense of it being immensely boring like Horizon Zero Dawn, but the lack of structure actually hurts the game here, whereas in the later game is a massive benefit for it. From my experience with the opening, I have to say From Software should have eased players into the non-linear world of Elden Ring, rather than pushing the player instantly into it, only to guide them into an area containing Margit, a boss who a lot of people are claiming is the hardest out of any Souls game they've played. I'd be fine with Margit being the first mainline boss if it weren't for the structuring of the opening. It completely contradicts itself. On one hand, it's telling you to go to Margit and defeat him, but on the other hand, it actually wants you to go and explore, to then gear up and fight him much later. If they were to have eased players into the unique non-linear nature of the game, I can guarantee a hell of a lot more players would have stuck around with the game, even in comparison to the seriously impressive numbers Elden Ring is currently pulling in. Co-op is something a significant amount of players will hate in this game. It uses what can only be described as an outdated but tolerable system. You'll need to craft remedies in order to invite people, and overall it just feels okay at best. Although if you're on console, good luck trying to get co-op to even work in the first place. From what I've heard, that shit's completely broken over there. The worst part about it overall is the fact the game requires you to restart in order to switch between offline and online play. That's downright ridiculous for a game released in 2022. It should have an automatic system to move between online and offline design. The best part of the game definitely has to be the community features, however. Things like the messages never fail to entertain me, with the Souls community constantly telling me to off myself and creating messages claiming there's a fake wall in front of me so I look like a fucking idiot. Thanks to this, I know I am never alone in this world. Although I have to say nothing tops the messages calling any living creature, mainly turtles, dogs. I know I myself cannot tell the difference between this lovely turtle pope and a dog. Where this game begins to fall apart in its majority is the settings and UI, with literally no accessibility options in regards to things like colorblind modes, and the settings menus not allowing you to use a keyboard on PC. The quality of the game's menus is atrocious, which is a very common thing amongst all From Software games on PC. For some reason they just can't get it right, even though it's one of the most simple features of any video game. I mean, for God's sake, even if you manage to deal with the issues that come along with using keyboard and mouse in this game, basic things like key binding pop-ups only show Xbox button prompts, not whatever you set it to on your keyboard. And even with a PlayStation controller plugged in, it again only shows you Xbox button prompts and Xbox controller layouts in the menus. Although all things considered, the controller customization for Xbox controllers is absolutely fantastic, but I want to stress how bad it is outside of that. It is one of the worst experiences you will ever have in a game on PC. I've honestly seen mobile ports with better fucking keybind customization and better menu settings. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here comes the truly fun part of the video, where I shit on the game's optimization and Dark Souls fanboys rush into the comment section to deny there are any performance issues, like how flat earthers deny Australia's existence. Elden Ring has a multitude of problems when it comes to its stability, from insanely bad frame timing related stuttering to input lag being present even when running the game natively, something that I'm truly baffled by. I have absolutely no idea how a game can have 2 to 4 seconds of input lag when running natively, and for anyone looking for a fix, the best solution I could find was obviously updating my drivers. However, although it did reduce the input lag, there is still a considerable delay that often drastically hinders my experience. There is also unfortunately no way to reduce the frame timing related problems at the moment, as that is an issue with the game created by From Software compiling shaders in real time, and it would need to be fixed by them or eventually by someone in the community. The majority of the time the game runs at least somewhat stable, but still not in a remotely ideal sense. Frame times are still on average around 18 to 23 milliseconds, which is ridiculous, and the fact the game's capped at 60 FPS means it's hard for me to measure its optimization. All in all, I still get frequent frame drops even on an RTX 3070 with a Ryzen 9 5900X and 32GB of RAM at 1440p max settings in this game. I'm sure I don't have to explain to anyone watching this video why that is an issue, because Elden Ring is not even close to being graphically intense even at max settings. In fact, it looks early 2015 at best, which wouldn't be a bad thing if it wasn't for the performance issues, since the game has literally no reason to run like it does. For those of you on console, the game does not run any better. The PS5 needs to run the PS4 version in order to maintain a stable 60 FPS, and the Xbox Series X version needs to run the game with variable refresh rate turned on to even get close to a stable 60 FPS. And if you're on last gen systems, then don't even bother trying to play the game. Also, I'm going to complain about development technique From Software still uses for no reason at all, and that's them directly linking game speed with frame rate. It's a beyond outdated technique. There is a reason why it was ditched over a decade ago by most studios, and it's the only reason why we don't have the ability to go higher than 60 FPS in Elden Ring even on PC. This is a title that would only benefit from giving players the ability to run it at a higher frame rate. So please, From Software, for the love of God, just give me a way to have 120 FPS at the very least. Overall, Elden Ring is a brilliant game played with performance issues across all platforms that makes it incredibly hard for me to recommend it in its current state, even to people with 3090s, as those people will still experience frame rate drops to around 20 FPS. However, as soon as From Software fixes the real-time shader compilation related problems and improves the optimization, everyone watching this video should at the bare minimum give Elden Ring a shot. Now we have finally reached the end of my review for Elden Ring, so with all that being said, please do not forget to do all the things YouTubers love to beg you to do, aka check out my Discord server, follow me on Twitter, as well as like, comment and subscribe, so that I will see you all in the next video.